Hey everybody, what's going on? Today I want to talk about probably the most powerful and popular card in the game right now, Aero. Aero is basically in every deck right now, has an extremely powerful and unique effect. It is the most powerful play in the game on turn 6. In many ways it's reminiscent of Leader, who people were calling for nerfs on for a long time. If you watched like a few weekends ago, the Creator Clash in New York City, basic sentiment from all of the people competing was you got to nerf Aero. She's very frustrating to lose to. So what makes her so frustrating? Now, as you can see, in case you weren't aware, she moves all of the enemy cards played this turn to the location where you played Aero. So the way I see it in Marvel Snap, you basically have two choices to make on your turn, right? You can choose which cards to play and where to play them. The thing is, Aero takes away that second decision, so this makes losing to her feel very frustrating and inevitable. All of my thinking through where to play was meaningless because they had Aero. Nothing I did mattered. Now, Marvel Snap allows any card to be in any deck. Many other collectible card games, they have classes in Hearthstone or colors in Magic or like regions in Legends of Runeterra. So there's sort of natural limitations on what you can do. But Marvel Snap, you can put any card in any deck. So this is sort of an issue that's going to recur throughout the game's lifetime. Or anytime a card like Leader or Aero becomes so universally powerful, it's going to start being very frustrating. Metas change. There's a Thanos board filling deck that's really popular, really strong right now. That's less vulnerable to Aero. So, there's things you can do. And the game always needs strong counterplays on turn 6. There needs to be something you can do to, combat your opponent's turns. I don't know if she's hated as much as Leader was, but the general sentiment is she does need to be toned down. There's too much Aero in the game. So let's talk about a few ways that they could change Aero. Which way would be the best? The first way would be to lower her power. Now, this they did already. She used to have 8 power. They put her down to 7 power. And the thing is that's almost completely irrelevant. The typical standard Aero play is you make sure you have 2 lanes, one. Then on turn 6, you play Aero in the third lane where you're going to lose in a way to keep all of their cards out of those lanes, protect your 2 lanes, in the game that way. So she could have 5 power, she could have 0 power. It wouldn't matter. You're not winning the lane when you play Aero. So any change to her power is going to be almost completely meaningless. And in fact, when you lower something's power to 0, everyone says Mr. Negative is going to get a buff, and that's usually kind of like whatever. But I don't want to give Mr. Negative X Aero's power for free. So let's just say power changes are out, right? So what other basic changes can we do? We can change her cost. Aero is typically played on turn 6, but there is a lot of flexibility. Sometimes, like if you play Wong, they can Aero away the cards you want to follow up on Wong with on turn 6, which is very frustrating. You can also be played on turn 6 alongside cards that cost 1. You could play 0, you could play Titania, you could play Stature, things like that. So you can even take a lane, take a lead in a lane where you weren't winning, and then Aero everything away to the side, win that way. So there's just a lot of flexibility to go along with how powerful her effect is. So if you made her a 6-cost card, it would have essentially the same effect on turn 6. A lot of games would play out the same way, but you would lose some of the flexibility. You wouldn't be able to play anything alongside her. You wouldn't be able to play her on turn 5, without having to ramp your energy in some way with like Psylocke, Wave, Electro, etc. This might be a smaller change that just makes her more predictable and less flexible. It might be enough. It's not an unreasonable way to consider dealing with her. Those are the basic ways to change her. If you want to do something else, you have to change her effect. So how can we change her effect? Now, one that I've heard from people say, I didn't come up with this, but the way she plays right now, it's if there is not enough space in the location where you play Aero to pull all of the cards your opponent plays, she kind of pulls one randomly. So, for example, they play, Shuri and then a 30 power Red Skull in one lane, and there's only one spot left in that lane. You want to pull the Taskmaster follow up into that lane as well. They play Taskmaster and 0. So Aero randomly picks which card she pulls right now. I'm pretty sure. So it's just sort of a coin toss whether she gets the Taskmaster and you win, or she gets the irrelevant 0 and then you lose. So if you made it so that she pulls cards in the order they're played, now if you predict an Aero is coming, you have some agency. You can determine which cards will be pulled by Aero if that's the card that actually gets played. And I think this is a pretty elegant change. The overall effect of the card, you might not even need to write in the text that she pulls them in the order they played. It could be like an under the hood adjustment where you just sort of understand that they're pulled in the order in which your opponent plays them. But it gives Aero's opponent some agency back. It doesn't feel like you're completely helpless just because, oh, they played Aero, so all of my decision making gets thrown out the window. Okay, now you have some decisions to make. You have some agency back. This is like the good first step to see if this is enough to take Aero's power down a little bit. But let's say that doesn't get there. I think I thought of one more change we could do. That's where you only move the first card your opponent played this turn to this location. So similar to the last thing, the play order matters. If they're going to play just the one big Taskmaster, then her effect is the same. You pull that Taskmaster to the lane where they don't want it to be, you win the game. But any deck where your opponent is playing several cards on turn 6, anything maybe like a Moon Girl, then you play a couple of Statures and a couple of Demons from the hood, something like that, much less effective. You can only pull one card out of the spot where your opponent wants it to be. So this would, I think, probably effectively, it would kill off the way the card is played right now. Maybe you could use it to pull something into a lane where you're winning, and you think you have enough of a padding of power in that lane that you can absorb taking something out of line from what your opponent wants. You can see I went ahead and gave her 8 power again, because I feel like you might, the new way to use Aero would be move a card where you're already strong and that 8 power just adds to your cushion. I think the Aero that we know it would be dead in this case for the most part. This one might be too much. I don't know if this kills the card and kind of ruins your ability to counter turn 6s. It might be too much. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Which of these changes do you like the most? Do you think that this still isn't enough? Do you think that these are all too much? You let me know. I'm not a game designer. I don't have perfect insight. I just had some ideas. Something that might just bring Aero a little more in line. Maybe she's in only 80% of decks instead of 90% of decks. Yeah, let me know. Thanks you for watching though. Thanks for coming by. Remember to like, subscribe, and keep snapping.